Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Adobe Live here on Adobe Behance. And we are excited to be here today because we have Tanja Hildebrandt here. And Tanja, this is your first UK stream, right?
Yeah, indeed. That's my first stream here.
It is.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to be here, but thanks for the invitation.
Oh, we are so happy to have you here. We've known each other for probably just under about a year now, but we've never done a stream together.
Yeah, that's true.
It's so exciting because today the weather might be rubbish outside. It might have got cloudy and overcast. And I can see Gareth in the chat asking for some sunshine. We will be bringing you this today. We are kicking off a week-long hackathon, a branding hackathon, Tanja, as well. So I'm kicking off today. And then Tanja will be here on Wednesday with Tony. And then finishing the week with Natalie on Friday. And we're going to be in Adobe Illustrator, I think for today and then Wednesday. And then in Dimension on Friday. So lots of great things coming up, and you might recognize Tanja from the German streams as well. So if any of you join our German streams, this is where you see Tanja. Tanja, let us know what else is in store for us this week. Like, what kind of things are you going to be covering?
Yeah, so as you said, it's the brand hackathon week. So I thought of creating a brand identity and a packaging design for a small tea brand, ecological tea brand based here in southern Germany. I think that could be a nice idea. And maybe I can already show like a little timetable, what I prepared.
Good plan.
So today we are probably, I'm giving a little introduction. I will also show like 2 or 3 projects of myself, what I do for work. Then we start a bit about what brand identity is, and about the process I usually working with my clients. And then we directly jump into Illustrator and we will build like the basic brand elements today. Like we're covering logo design, color palette, finding the right typefaces, all these things. And then on Wednesday for the masterclass, we deep dive into packaging design and pattern design, because we are creating something like tea box where we insert like 3 different types of herbal tea. So I thought we are creating something like a brand pattern for the tea brand, and we're also creating like 3 different illustrations for the packaging designs. And then on Friday, we will more talk about how to present your work, like on the one hand, how to present your work to the client, but also more how you can present or prepare your work for your own portfolio. Because I think this could probably be interesting for like people who are just starting out, like how you can create mock-ups pretty easily with Dimension. Because since I discovered Dimension, I nearly don't use like any other mock-ups anymore, because it's so easy and it's a really good way to present your work and like make a nice presentation of your work. So that's the plan for the week.
And everyone's loving this week. Gareth says looking forward to this week on live. Angus says great schedule. And let's see here, we've got Kirsty says this is going to be fun. Sandrine's looking forward to it as well. We've got so many of you here today. So Oliver's in there as well. And who else have we got here? I know Tim's joining us today behind the scenes in the stream as well. But so much to cover. And this is a really great project. And of course, on Friday, take all of these tips that Tanja is going to be sharing about how you can present your work and how you can use Dimension in your designs as well. So, lots to cover. If you have any questions for Tanja, get them in on behance.net/live. We're chatting in there today, not on YouTube if you're watching it back on YouTube. So, as I say, questions as we go. And I hope you've got a cup of tea ready, Tanja. Or actually, no.
Actually, no, because here I'm based in Berlin, and for the last 6 days we had between 34 and 36 degrees. So it's pretty hot in here. Also here in my apartment, it's like 31 degrees. So I'm not drinking tea today. I have a glass of water with me. But basically I prepare iced tea for Wednesday. That could be a good idea.
That is good. Well, the topic is tea, as you mentioned, and we're going to be designing some a good brand for is it herbal teas? Is there a name for this already?
The brand is going to be called Finn and Friends. And I'm going to talk a bit about the story or the story behind the label later on. I mean, it's like an invented idea. It's not a real project, but I thought, so maybe it's really nice to take a look on all the steps during this process of creating a brand identity.
Perfect. Oh, it sounds great. I mean, I'm really looking forward to getting in. I'm excited for this week. You know, and lots of people here are, you know, feeling sad that we don't know where our summer's gone in the UK. Stuart, I completely agree. Where's it gone? But it will be back, and we're going to channel all of this, you know, warmth through you today, Tanja, in the stream. So
I sent you some sun.
Yes, please. Definitely. Cool. Let's get started.
Okay, so maybe I just start with quickly showing some work of mine that you get an impression of my style. Yeah, as you mentioned, I had my first stream on Adobe Germany in, I think, more or less 1 year ago. And since October, I'm also hosting some of the streams. But I'm working as an art director, illustrator, and pattern designer here in Germany. And like here are some of my works. And I usually work with a lot of colors. I love geometric shapes, and I focus myself on creating brand identity, illustrations, also sometimes infographics, and I also focus myself on working with sustainable working brands and initiatives, like in a social and ecological way. So maybe this is one project I like to show. That's a brand identity project. The brand or the cooperative was called or is called Transform. It's a Berlin-based building corporation, and their vision or also their mission is that they say there is no waste on our planet. You can somehow reuse everything in another way or in a different way. So they basically building projects for cultural and sustainable buildings and building projects, and they're working for they have this sustainable and circular approach within their work. So I wanted to integrate that also into the brand identity, and I made this logo based on a circle, which is also moving, because the name Transform also already gives this impression of like you take something and you build something new out of it. And that was also then we created that for the slogan, like it says like use old things and make something new out of it, transform it. And here you can see like we have 4 different forms of the logo, and you can decide or you use like the one which is moving. And also the color palette in that case was pretty muted, I would say, and really clear and with no colors. And it was just like I choose some colors which reminds you on stone or concrete, and we wanted to also integrate that into the brand identity. And the fonts also should be at least one open type font, and like these were the things I integrated. And also here you can see a bit that I worked with these pattern designs, which reminds you on constructing buildings, and we also integrated that into all the printed materials like banners and the business card, and also posters because they rebuilding an old factory and build a co-working space into that and apartments. And so this is still an ongoing project.
Wow. I love how you've made the shape move because of the name, Transform.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
It's neat. And Emma calls you the pattern queen, by the way, in the chat. And I can see you had some, if you scroll down, I saw you had some cushions and things there. I'm loving that design. I love it.
I will also show some more of my pattern projects on Wednesday, I thought, because there the focus is more on pattern design. But you're right. I'm creating a lot of things with pattern, but also in combination with packaging design. I think for me, somehow it's really great to combine these 2 things, because especially when you're creating something like in a 3-dimensional room, like for a box or something, you can work pretty well with pattern design. For example, I can show that one here. That was I think the logo already existed, but that was a fair trade vegan chocolate brand, and they wanted to have some packaging for their different flavors.
Love it.
And here, for example, ginger and chili flakes, I had like these flavors, and I tried to find a pretty abstract way of building shapes and building the patterns for that. Or this is Himalaya salt, so we have this shape of the mountains, or here the poppy seeds in the background and like the leaves of the lemon fruit in front of it. And
love it. Well, Andreas and Sandrine have both mentioned sneakers on your Behance are amazing.
That's funny. That was a project I did, or I created for a 3-part session on Adobe Live Germany last year. That was a 3-part session about pattern design, and we created a whole pattern collection during these 3 sessions. And it was based on I don't know if you have this in the UK, this this game which is called Twister, like with these big colorful dots.
Oh yes, with your body, and you have to spin and you all end up falling over. Yes.
Right. And that was like I usually want to have like an idea or an initial idea what I use for the pattern to have here I use the colorful dots, and then also like the shapes of your movement when you're playing the game. And
I see. I can see that in the pattern now.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Good. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think that's a really rough overview of my work. I think I can show some more during the week, like over and come
definitely.
up to.
And you present your work really well. You know, I love the way that it's all laid out and the color schemes and everything that you've got going on there. It's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it'd be good on Friday. I think it's the Friday stream, isn't it? It's looking at how you can present some of your work. So this is, we'll definitely revisit this for sure.
Yeah, and I think especially when you're just starting out, like the presentation of your work is a really important thing. Yeah. And sometimes it's not that easy, because especially when you're starting out, maybe you don't have like the perfect projects you want to work on. And so it's a really good start, I think, for creatives to just at the beginning to maybe invent or do some fake projects. Or I mean, of course you do them in real life, but you don't have a real client, but there you can somehow try to show what you can, and also show like how you can present your work. And then, because what you're showing in your portfolio is basically the type of projects you get hired for. And I mean, I did this myself at the beginning, so I thought it's nice to have like not a real client, but kind of a fake project for today that we're working on to cover all these steps.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's good to show then if that's the type of work that you enjoy doing and what you're sharing on your portfolio, then you'll get hired for doing that work as well. So if you enjoy doing it, share it more of it. So you can continue. Totally.
Okay, so I would say we can start jumping into what a brand identity is. I just prepared like 2 or 3 slides to give a rough overview what a brand actually, or a brand identity is, and also like showing the steps which I usually do or work on with my clients. Because like a brand identity is more than just a logo. Sometimes when you get a phone call from a potential client and they say, I need a logo, and then the first thing is I'm asking like, what is the story behind your label or your idea? Like all these invisible parts, like a brand identity can be divided into 2 parts, I think. Like it's the visible part and the invisible part. And like the visible part is everything that is visible and is shown in your style and your communication. That's the logo design, the typefaces, color palettes, the design elements, but also like the tone of voice, how you get how you want to be seen from your clients. But the invisible part, I would say, is like the core of your brand. It's like, it's your why, your how, and your what. So why you are doing the things that you do, how you are doing it, and of course, what you are doing. And like these things are, have the same importance than also the visible part. And I think we as a designer, we somehow have to get an impression of from a client of the brand story, of the goals, of their values, and then it's our goal or our to-do to somehow communicate that or find like the perfect and appropriate style for them to also bring this to the outside. And
do you know, I agree with you on so many levels. We and this is something that happened. I got to share this with you, Tanja. Last week, my kids and I went to the seaside for fish and chips, and we were in the queue, and my daughter looked up at the fish and chip shop and said, "Why are we getting fish and chips from a pharmacy?" And I said, "What? There's a fish and chip shop." She said, "Look at the logo. It looks like a pharmacy." Honestly, the logo, it looked like a place you'd go and buy medicine, like seriously. And I thought, kids are seeing that. Like it's so important that you talk about, you know, the brand goals, the story, the vision. Maybe it was a pharmacy that they turned into a fish and chip shop, but everyone picks it up, right? So this is honestly.
Yeah. And
so true.
I think there are a lot of these things, what you said, like the typefaces and the color palette, you somehow as a viewer, you receive or you perceive these things and you get like an idea of what this brand is. But that in best case should also reflect like the brand sees itself.
Yes, exactly. And everyone's writing in the chat now, chips are medicinal. Yes, Gareth, chips are always medicinal. Yes, and they are good medicine. Sorry to tell you that random. I had to share it because
but that's a pretty good example for that. And there's this book. Wait, I have to look it up. It's called Brand Gap from Martin Neumeier, and he says, and I think that's a really good sentence to keep in mind. A brand identity, it's not what you say you are, it's what they say you are. And it's like our to do is somehow to bring these things together in the best case. And the process I usually work with my clients is, we have the first contact. Most of the time it's a phone call. I try to figure out to get to know what they want. And because not in every case they already know what they want. Sometimes they're just saying, okay, we need a logo, but in fact they need an identity. And after the first phone call, we talk also about like the pricing and timing and everything. But then before I start going into action of creating the brand identity, we usually start working, or we start with a kickoff meeting. And that's why I draw these eyes there, because for me, this is the time to trying to figure out or get to know as much as I can about them as I can, like about their story behind, like why they are doing the things they do. Why do they think that the clients should come to them? This is also like a pretty important question, like what is their unique selling point? And all these questions. And during that process, sometimes I also think that, especially when you're working with groups, this can be the tricky part, because they realize that maybe they're not on the same page. Maybe especially when they start working with a new product or project, they invented something, I don't know. And during that process, they also find out if they're all on the same page and if they all have the same idea in their mind what their brand will be. And so this is a pretty important process or step in that process, I would say. And then when we are clear on that and we have it black on white, then the next step comes, and that's the creation part. Then it's actually my turn. I create the basic brand elements, what I shown before, like the logo typefaces, color palettes, everything, until we have some iterations. Then most of the times like 2 or 3, and then when we are all agree on the same things and they are happy with the branding, I finalize the project, give them all the assets, prepare the brand book, and some templates for print material, or sometimes also for social media. And just to have a quick overview what my process most of the time looks like. And I would say for today, because we don't have this actual kickoff meeting, because somehow I invented a client myself, I would say we can directly jump into Illustrator.
Perfect.
And have a look on the design brief, because that was basically the thing when Finn in that case would call me and he would say, hey, I have inherited my parents' farm based in southern Germany. It's a family business that has been producing organic herbal tea for decades. And Finn is now taking over the company with some friends of him. And he wants a fresh branding that reflects the natural yet modern and ecological approach. So that would basically like what we can figure out from a first phone call, and maybe we also in that case have some informations already, like he already has a name. I thought, because the idea about the name, first I thought of creating a gin label, and then I thought, okay, gin and Finn somehow is a rhyme, I like that. And then I thought, okay, no, maybe for a stream it would be nicer to create a tea packaging. So, but I wanted to stick to the name, and
Love it. It's a good name, and I like the story as well, because you can see why the change and what they're trying to do. Family business, I love it. Yeah,
and also I think my brother, he with his wife, he moved to the Black Forest a year ago, and there I realized they have some really good tea labels there, because they have a lot of herbs and a lot of fruits in the Black Forest. So I discovered like 2 or 3 small tea labels, and I thought, oh yeah, maybe as a potential client, I would love to create a tea label branding.
Yeah, nice.
So, okay. So as a first step, after we agreed on working together, we would then basically do the kickoff meeting together. Like most of the times I prefer doing that like in real life. Of course, the last year it was also a lot of times like via Zoom. But during that process, we are working with a lot of adjectives. Like when I ask them the questions, how do you see yourself? And I made these little slides here with some tricks and tips. And I saw this, I think, in another UK stream or in a stream from the US. And I really like that we write down all the tips we have here during the week.
Nice.
So as a tip for the kickoff meeting, use our work with adjective, because that is really helpful for you as a creative when they have to describe themselves with adjectives. Like, for example, when they say, we see our brand, that our brand is pretty playful. So I directly have a picture in my mind what type of typeface I could use for it, and what typeface is not appropriate in that case. And this kind of helps you pretty well to interpret their vision and their mission, and also their character into something visible.
Definitely. You're right with the typeface, because it can mean so much. It can look scary, but it can look playful. So yeah, it's good to get these adjectives. I like that you captured these from another stream. These are the things that I write down. I've got a book here and I write everything down. So yeah, right there with you.
Perfect. And I mean, you can use like a lot of adjectives, like whether you prepare them and they have to somehow choose them, or you do this in a group like conversation. I don't know, that's up to you, but I usually prepare a lot of adjectives from like straightforward, honest, helpful, informative, funny, clever. These are all like pretty good adjectives you can describe a brand.
Yeah.
And and then when you did the kickoff meeting, in best case, you go with something written down black on white, especially about here with the adjectives. In that case, I thought, okay, like for this type of brand, because he has inherited this family business, it's of course like one adjective which is pretty important, I would say, is familiar. like then they also have like a close connection to nature, because of course they produce the tea. Then I would also say producing tea is a fragile process, because I mean, I don't know that much about producing tea, but I think you have to know a lot about like the right amount of dyeing the leaves and the right temperature and all these things. So I would say it's kind of also a fragile process, which can be visible in the brand identity. Because he said that he somehow wants to keep this heritage from his parents and wants to have this natural but also modern look, I would say that an appropriate adjective could also be nostalgic, that you have or keep this nostalgic look in the design. And then of course like harmony and being classic. I mean, tea is nearly all the times compared with harmony to get a nice feeling when drinking the tea.
Oh, it's such a thing in the UK. It's a very British thing. Put the kettle on. If there's any problem, let's have a cup of tea. Anything at all. You know, the weather's bad outside. I'll put the kettle on. So, you know. Stuart says this is good stuff. I completely agree with you, Stuart.
Okay, yeah. I mean, for the chat, if they have something to add, just go for it when you think something is missing. And what you said, I think that's also the goal and also the mission in that case, like bringing joyful moments where you feel comfortable, a moment of harmony, having this familiar feeling while drinking the tea. I think in that case, this is pretty clear. And for the target audience, I would say that in that case, there is no special persona they want to communicate, because in fact, everybody can be a tea lover, and it can be people of every age. And in that case, I would say one special thing about it is that they produce it on their own and it's ecological tea. So I think, or then in that case, Finn told me that the price is a bit higher than like for a normal supermarket tea. So I would say, okay, maybe the target audience is the type of person who's really a tea lover and he's willing to pay like, I don't know, a bit more for tea.
Yeah.
So that would be like the outcome of the kickoff meeting. And then in the next step, it would be my turn now to start the process. And there I usually start with a mood board, creating a mood board on base of these adjectives and their goals. And most of the time I'm creating 2 mood boards, or maybe sometimes even 3. It depends what we also figured out and wrote down in the contract. In that case, I prepared 2 mood boards. I always write down some of the keywords, what we figured out in the kickoff meeting. Here I thought on that there are a lot of things in nature which are really geometric. When you see the leaves, or like also some other things, especially here in the Black Forest, when you see the fields, there's some kind of these geometrical look somehow. Then we have this nostalgic, classic, and reduced. We have these keywords. So for that mood board here, I thought, okay, let's integrate a picture. I mean, if that would be a real project, like in best case, the client would provide some pictures, some materials, or even also the tea or the product itself. In that case, I just did a random Google search and found this really nice picture here from some houses in the Black Forest. What I do really love about them is that especially in southern Germany, there are a lot of houses where you can still see this wooden construction outside the house. I don't know if you also do have this in the UK.
Yeah, we do in different places of the UK. There's a lot of that in York and in parts of London, but it's not typically all over the UK. It's kind of like I don't know if you call it cladding or yeah, some kind of beams or something. But yes, I love the look of the house. I love it.
Yeah, I would say in Germany, this is something typical for the Black Forest or for Southern Germany. But I also thought, okay, we could somehow integrate this into the brand identity because it also has this touch of this geometry somehow that we could integrate. When we also figured out this keyword of nostalgic, I think what directly came into my mind was this graphic design of the 20s, like these Art Deco style, like having these like this contrast in the typefaces, really thin and thicker lines, like these elegant look somehow, and these fine lines here all the time.
And the borders definitely adds to it, doesn't it? With those borders.
Yeah. Nice. And so I thought, okay, like something with these lines, with these geometrical lines, this could be something for that mood board, which I think could be fitting pretty well to their brand. Then also, if they provided a picture, for example, from their product, I already would look for kind of, getting some vibe for the color palette already. Here it's a more muted color palette, I would say. And then I usually also showing some pictures where you can get an idea of the typefaces I could imagine for the branding. And here, of course, because also of this Art Deco idea, like a serif font could be appropriate. So that would be the first mood board. And the second, to have a variety of styles they then afterwards can select from, would be here for the keywords I wrote down organic shapes. So it's not about the geometry, but it's more about this organic shapes. It's more funny, fresh and modern. The color palette would look a bit lighter and brighter, and we would work with these kind of wobbly shapes somehow.
Nice. I could see a nice pattern emerging with some of these there, Tanja, for Wednesday.
So I mean, one option could be that that the community can decide which mood board or on which mood board we are working on, which direction. I already worked on one direction. I don't know, do you have a favorite?
I love, the bottom one. It's more colourful to me, but then I love the houses in the first image. I love that. Everyone let us know in the chat. By the way, it does turn out that we have a lot of tea drinkers with us today. Lots of tea drinkers, lots of rules with tea. And Noor says tea brands are actually trending in e-commerce since we're at home most of the time, which is a good investment right now. Kirsty thinks the bottom one. Sandrine thinks the bottom one as well. Noosh says, I like both. So,
because the thing is, I prepared number one. I hope that's okay. I hope that's fine for everybody.
Well, Sean agrees the top one, and Gareth says he likes the middle. He likes the middle one. So,
because you know what? Also, I have the impression that, especially with, of course, it's some kind of fruit related, but the second one feels a bit like that I've seen kind of these things, and I do really love this this idea of combining these geometrical shapes with this organic tea topic. So I hope everybody's fine when we're working on mood board number one.
Yes, I'm sure that will be fine. And there was a few people that were up for the top. I think Oliver says that he likes the top one. So no, definitely proceeds there for sure. And there's lots of tea rules happening in the chat, Tanja. Do you have rules when you drink tea, when you make tea?
Oh, rules? I don't know.
Well, like sugar, milk, the color of the tea, if biscuits need to be accompanying the tea.
Most of the time I don't use sugar. For black tea, I always drink black tea with milk. But I think this is also a pretty common thing in the UK, right? To drink it with milk.
They do, apart from Sandrine. Sandrine does not like milk or sugar. But yes, and there's a thing called builder's tea, which we have in the UK. I don't know if you have this in Germany, we call it builder's tea when it's really, really strong and it looks like a dark brown instead of a more milky color. It's all go in the chat today, Tanja. I want to share this with you.
Great. Yeah. Okay. So we have a good topic for this brand identity. That's great. Yeah. I mean, usually in that case, I would send these two, or it depends. When I did 3 mood boards, I would send them to the client, and then we would have another chat, another phone call about it. And what you also said, sometimes it's also the case that they say, okay, I don't know, like the typeface of the second one, but I do really love like the idea of integrating the house or whatever. Like sometimes it's also a combination, and there I think it sometimes can be tricky because you have this idea that somehow like this typeface is working pretty good with that type of graphic elements. So it's always like you have to figure out. And I think there I talk a lot with the clients about when they say, okay, I like that one, but can we somehow integrate that into that pattern here? And then I say, yeah, I mean, I got your idea, but in the end, like this idea is based on very geometrical shapes, and somehow the second one is not fitting to it, because also you have to create some kind of consistency. And most of the time it's like talking to them, and most of the time then we can come up with one solution, and which they're also happy about then.
Do you find that if they are seeing things very differently to you, would you ever advise creating 2 options, like an A and B testing for them to choose from? Or do you think that, as you know best, based on all of the research, that you should present one?
I mean, in best case, that client trusts you and you present one, or I mean, even if we agree on one direction, I would probably show them 2 drafts of a logo, because anyways that they can have like 2 options and they can decide from it. It's a tricky question, because most of the time somehow you feeling also, or the feeling also tells me, okay, they trust me. I think it's also a question of trust. And when they say, but I would feel much more comfortable if I could just see that, then sometimes I say, okay, we do that. I mean, most of the time I know, okay, it will be no, I don't think we come up with that idea in the end, but just to make it visible. And then most of the time they also agree and say, okay, like the other one is better, we got it. And but that can be a tricky part.
Well, Sandrine says if you present both options, they'll want a bit of both. Trust me on that one. That could get messy, couldn't it? It could slow things down by doing 2. But I see. It's good to talk about it.
That's the tricky part of it, I would say. So now, when we agreed on one mood board here, in that case, number 1, I would then start with the logo design first. And here I write down also, again, my keywords like elegant, round, old school, vintage, geometric. And here in that case, because we also had this picture of this article, I definitely had a typeface in my mind somehow with a big contrast in the line strokes, and also maybe like a serif font. And here I can also show some inspiration, what I'm usually doing when looking for typefaces, because this can also be like a tricky part. I wrote down some websites, and of course Adobe Fonts is always a good source to look for typefaces. Okay, here it's in German, but you can set your filters if you're looking for reduced ones or geometric fonts. And when you have the cloud, you can just pretty easily install them on your computer and use. So this is a good option. What I also can recommend is I pretty often go on that site here called Typewolf. They also have some really cool, because what's good here, they show some real world projects, and they showing like which typefaces you can combine. And when you go onto a project, you can also see like the fonts which are used here, and then you can click on the font. Here's a link where you can get it to the Type Foundry, but also they give you like the closest match on Adobe fonts, which is also pretty cool when you don't want to buy a new font.
One thing I do is a visual search in Adobe Fonts. So if you screenshot some text that you've seen somewhere, and by the way, the only reason why I do this is to edit presentations, and I drag the font and I drop it into the search engine in the fonts, and it will find a similar font to that font. So that is a fast way of doing it as well.
That's a good tip. I didn't know that this is also possible on Adobe fonts. I usually did this with Water fonts, but now I see this camera icon. That's a good tip.
It saves so much time. I mean, if you're editing presentations like me, you're just straight in. Yeah. There you go, everyone. Yeah,
that's also a good idea, especially like what I have shown here. For example, when you have a picture or you saw something on the internet and you think, oh, this is really nice here, like this old serif font. I mean, that it's not a good quality of the picture, but anyways, you can look for some typefaces that way. Here are some type foundries I really like. That's a French one. They have some really fancy typefaces also for free, but of course they are happy when you also you are allowed to use that also for clients projects, but they also are happy if you buy the font. And that one here, I discovered him. He's a graphic designer on Instagram, and he really makes beautiful fonts. That's why I wanted to show that pretty quickly. And he also has these bundles here for not that high amount of money, and they're really, really beautiful. So yes, and another one, what I wanted to show is Font Stand. This is also a pretty cool tool. I don't know if you heard of that.
No, never.
That's an app, and you can rent some fonts. You can try them out for free for 3 hours, and then you can rent them, and you're also allowed to work with them and use them in clients' projects. So yeah, but in this case, I used Adobe fonts. And my favorite was that one here. It was called, let me check, Ivy Mode. I really love like the style of the font. It looks really classy, but also it has this modern touch because it works with this high contrast in the stroke in the stroke lines, but in fact it is not a serif font. So this gives it a really modern touch, I would say. So I thought, okay, I would. And the other thing is, I really love the dot or the square of the E, because this rotated square, it reminds me on the mountains, which are pretty common in the Black Forest. So I think, okay, that's a really nice thing what we can integrate into the identity.
I like that.
And then, I'm usually then I select some of the typefaces, try them out for a slogan or something. And in the end, I decided for that one here. And also, like, one option is when creating a logo, I mean, you can make your own custom font. You can draw it by yourself. In that case, I was pretty sure that I would just want to use this typeface, and later on want to make like some little adjustments that, it's not that easy to recreate that logo. And then I would recommend for a brand identity, when you have one typeface or your own typeface for a logo, you choose one typeface for the headlines, one typeface for the subheads, and one typeface for the body text, like for everything what's written down. And here I usually go for two, like that they're not competing each other and that they have enough contrast. And in that case, I went for that one here. It's Ivy Presto Display. It's also an Adobe font. And what I like here, which is also a pretty good tip, because I saw that this type family has a lot of styles, and they have display variation, but also text variation. So this is also like a good idea if you're not sure how to combine or whether these two typefaces can be combined. Like when you're finding a big typeface family and they have like these display and these text fonts, you can be sure that these two typefaces also fitting together. So I decided for these ones and this Nobel, I don't know, for the body text.
Thanks for showing the names of them. I think it was Gareth that asked in the chat what were the names of these typefaces. So.
Okay, yeah. Nobel and Ivy Presto. All are from Adobe fonts.
Stuart says the second sub font works with the Art Deco theme. Nice.
Which one?
The second sub font he put.
That one here?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I also thought that because this G really reminds me on some Art Deco fonts, and it's really clear, but has this nostalgic look. So I thought this is a pretty good font for that case. Yeah, and then the next step is, oh my God, time is running so fast.
You know, I was just about to say to everyone if you have any questions for Tanja, because it's 46 minutes past.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it feels like we've been on for 5 minutes together, Tanja.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, we have a bit on our to-do list for today, but anyways, we can also push something, keep it backwards for Wednesday. Yeah. No, but yeah, so the next step would be to create the logo type. We have our font here. And then in that case, what I did here was I made a copy and converted it to outlines, into the outline mode. And here via view and that one here, Command and Y, you can go into the outline or preview mode. And what I did here, I wanted to make some little adjustments here on the F, because it's it doesn't has any serifs, this font, but I wanted to add some serifs here on the F because I thought, yeah, maybe it has a bit more, it can look a bit like it can fall. So I wanted to have these little lines here on the bottom. Mm-hmm. So I just created it with the rectangle tool and used the same width of that one here on the top. And also I used the same angle here and just horizontally, flipped it horizontally. So that was one thing. And the other thing was here, for the ampersand, I somehow wanted to combine these. I didn't want to have this white space here in between because I wanted to have a combined shape. And the other thing I did was I really liked that 45-degree angle here from this I dot, and I thought it would be nice to also integrate that into the ampersand, that it gets a bit more of this consistency, because I think we can also use that angle for like the graphic elements later on. So yeah, here is the new ampersand, and then we have our typeface, our customized typeface finished in that case.
Love it. And I like, do you know the eye, the dot on the top of the eye? Mm-hmm. It's almost like, I know you said it reminds you of the mountains, but for me it reminds me of like a tea bag, or like I think someone said in the chat, tea bag box. So
okay.
It's a good font, or typeface, not font, but yes.
Yeah. I really love this typeface. Yeah, great. Yeah, and here, I mean, there are also some different ways. Sometimes I start drawing, like when I also create something like an icon or something for a logo. Sometimes I do start with making drawings with fresco, but here in that case, because I was pretty sure that I want to use that typeface, I directly jumped into Illustrator. And here are some other like drafts, because at the beginning, I do like that font or that typeface here, but I think it's too playful for in that case. But what I thought here, that we could use that serif here and create like a tree out of it. But yeah, that were just, I tried a few things out. Here also I thought, okay, we could somehow use that, like this typical Black Forest house with this construction, and also make this construction like that it can also be like a tree. But then I thought, no, in that case, I mean, it's not about the location from the house, it's more about the tea itself. So I think the tea should be in the focus of the logo.
And Sandrine asks a question. What are the rules or the copyright rules when you take an existing typeface and you change it?
There you always have to be, you have to read like the copyright rules. It depends, like some of the type foundries, they say it's also open to customize it. Some of them do not allow that. So every time when you buy a typeface, you have to read this. Usually when you buy a typeface, you get like a copyright, like a A4 or a PDF where everything is written down. And there you can make sure whether you are allowed to customize it or not.
Wow. Good tip. Good to cover that for sure.
So here for my icon, I went a step back and thought, okay, what are the basic icons or the basic elements connected with that tea brand? And of course, it's the cup and the leaves for the tea. But here in that case, also the mountain and the tree, like the two on the left are connected with the product itself, and the two on the right are connected with the location of the tea brand, which is here, I would say, is the special thing about that brand, that it's not tea from, I don't know, Japan or China, where most of our tea comes from, but it's like herbs or tea from like just outside your door. So.
And I love the simplicity of those. You know, they're really just simple, and I could see these would be lovely in a pattern as we get, you know. So very nice.
That was because I had this in mind to create a pattern. So I thought it would be nice to already work with these really fine lines also for the logo typeface, that you can somehow create that consistency. Here were a few drafts how to combine these four elements. As you can see, I was not like really happy with none of them, because here I also integrated that rotated square from the eye. Here I integrated the mountains as well as here, but then I thought, okay, no, it reminds me too much on a, I don't know, surfboard label. Or here I wanted to combine the tree and the leaves, and it looked like a face.
And how did you put these together, Tanja? Because Gareth's saying, how did you put these icons together? How did you brainstorm them?
Like in that case, I mean, I created these shapes here and then I copied them and just made some variations here. For example, I put them inside here. Wait, I go back into that mode here. I brought them together, of course, bring them to the same size, like just playing around basically with these four shapes. And sometimes I think it's pretty useful, or I like working with also setting yourself a frame where you are setting yourself some boundaries, where you say, okay, I use these four elements. Or of course here I thought, okay, I do a rectangle, but to get this type of a mountain, I mean, it does not have to be like the straight line 45-degree angle. I could also make some round shape, for example here, and then just make this corner or this line round, and here I can horizontally flip that. And like this is just basically the way I somehow create these icons. Sorry.
Oh, don't worry. And when you come to presenting these then to your client or your logo at the end, would you show them these stages or your workings out and how you got there? Is that part of the
Um,
story? Or would you say, here it is, here's the final one. Don't look at the other stuff.
no, I think for that one here, no. Here in the end, I made a selection with my preferences, or like the things I was happy to. Like here, I found a way to combine them a bit better, where I thought, okay, I have the mountain integrated, I integrated the cup, and the cup goes into the leaf. So I thought, okay, that is a really combination, or like a nice way to bring these three elements together. And like, for example, here, I mean, also with the typeface, probably when I would do this for a client, I would come up with two different logo ideas. So I think for one, I would choose one of these ones here. And for the other one, or for the other draft, I would definitely also use another typeface to bring in another style, I would say. And but in that case here, then I finally made the decision and thought, okay, I think that is the right one. And then in the end, you have to figure out like how, like what is the contrast or the sizes you want to use each element for, like how much space do you need in between these elements? How can you create enough contrast? Here I wanted to also use the same line weight as here, that you have like this consistency, and also that typeface here I think is matching pretty well to the stroke line of the F. And yeah, so that would basically be the finalized logo then.
Love it. I think you've definitely got the right one there. It's so much that's captured within it. I love it. Really good.
Yeah, and I really do love this little icon here. I think that's, yeah, that brings in like these other elements into the design. And then, yeah, with a color palette, it's also, I wanted to show some things here. Like these are different types on how you can create like a color palette. Like most of the time I'm using complementary colors. And when you're creating a color palette, usually I choose 1 to 3 primary colors and 3 to 5 secondary colors. And in that case here, I mean, color itself is linked to some psychological things, like some of the, you get a special feeling when you see a color. And in that case, for me, it was pretty obvious to somehow use a green. I mean, I was not sure what shape of green or shade of green, but I wanted to use a green because this is ecological. It gives that feeling of nature. It symbolizes growth, freshness, serenity. So that it was clear that I choose this color, this green tone. Then I thought maybe a dark blue, because this is some kind of a color which is trustworthy and loyal and serene. So I thought that one could also be a nice color for that brand. But here in that case, for example, there is not enough contrast between these two colors. So in that case, I deleted that dark green and went for the lighter green. And then, so this is basically the way how I decide on colors. And here with the yellow, it's the same. I mean, in these herbs, you see that, or in nature, there's a lot of yellow, and yellow itself is a really nice color which reflects positivity and happiness and warmth, but at the same time can cause caution. So I was sure that I wanted to use a more muted tone of the yellow.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Tanja, we are at time. Like we are literally having to say goodbye in a moment. And I'm so happy to have started the week with you and to see, you know, where you've got to here so far. And of course, you're going to continue this with Tony on Wednesday, and then wrap this with Natalie on Friday. So everybody, please join our masterclass on Wednesday with Tony. It's always good fun with Tony on the UK Stream. Tanja, I'm excited for you for Wednesday. So you can get into this even more. This will be available on YouTube afterwards, and the chat will continue continue in Discord, everybody. So definitely, you know, join the chat in there. Tanja, it's been lovely being on the stream with you today. Hopefully we get to do a few more together.
Yeah, I hope so too. It was lovely to be on the stream with you too.
Oh, it's always fun, always fun. Well, thanks for joining, and everybody, thanks so much for joining. Lots of chat about tea and biscuits, as we always love in the UK stream, and see you all on Wednesday. Bye, everyone.
See you on Wednesday. Bye.